Hello, podcast listeners. We know podcasts are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But you know, KSJE is now listener-supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, your community hospital with a rich heritage that dates back to before New Mexico was a state. We've been improving the health of the Four Corners since 1910. As a nonprofit hospital, San Juan Regional Medical Center is a values-driven organization. We strive to deliver on our mission to personalize health care and create vitality and enthusiasm in healing. We are here for you when you need us, offering a comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and emergency care services. Well, let me turn to my guest who is here with me this morning to talk about the Great Strides Walk to raise money for cystic fibrosis. Lisa Willems is here. Lisa, good morning.
Well, good morning, Scott.
Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And as we were talking before we came on the air this morning, you were telling me that you've been a part of this event for the last 24 years.
This is year number 24.
How about that? And so it is really, seems to me, a labor of love for you because cystic fibrosis affects a member of your family.
It does. I have a daughter that is 27 years old, and she has cystic fibrosis.
And how has that affected her? Tell us a little bit about that then. This is something that is genetic?
That's correct. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease. It's passed on by both the mother and the father. Both parents have a recessive gene that they pass on to their child, and those two recessive genes becoming dominant give that child cystic fibrosis from birth. It affects all the cells in the body because it is genetic, but it primarily affects the lungs and the pancreas. The water in your body isn't passed through properly with cystic fibrosis, and so there's a thick mucus that plugs up the lungs and plugs up the pancreas. That thick mucus, it doesn't, by not allowing the water to pass through the body, it makes the lungs very dry and very susceptible to bacteria and infections. The pancreas, which excretes the digestive enzymes to help you digest food and get your nutrition from the food, it's plugged up, and so they have to take digestive enzymes to help them to grow and become normal, healthy.
Right. And be able to do the things that we all take for granted, I suppose,
exactly.
in life, correct. Right? Because they can get, I guess, it can really affect their endurance and what they're able to do and things along that line, I suppose, correct?
That's correct.
And so your daughter's doing well?
She's doing wonderful. God has a hand on her and has blessed her. She is 27, and she is very athletic. She's a yoga instructor, and she hikes mountains in Colorado. She's hiked all of the 14ers in Colorado, and so she does that with a lung disease, with a fatal lung disease. But she's able to continue to exercise, and her stamina and abilities are just incredible. She's doing wonderful, has a full-time job, and we're very blessed.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. But this is something that she will be living with for the rest of her life.
Correct. It is a progressive disease. Amber is uniquely mild with the disease. That generally you would hear people having difficulty breathing, being on oxygen, and looking at a potential lung transplant.
Probably difficulty climbing a flight of stairs, much less a 14,000-foot mountain.
Exactly. She's definitely very rare in the disease, but it affects each patient differently, and each patient is given their own specific care team, giving them care specific to how the disease is affecting them.
Right. And it may range from several treatments a year to a few, or just depends on the individual case, I know.
The daily treatment is pretty much the same for everyone. With the digestive part, they have to take digestive enzymes every time they eat, depending on the fat content of what they eat. And so my daughter takes 20 to 25 pills a day. Each meal you'd have to stop and take 5 pills or 3 pills. And then they also take other digestive aids, like something like a Zantac, to help to break down that digestive enzyme. And so that's part of the daily treatment. Also part of their daily treatment is the lung airway clearance, that she has mucus that builds up in her lungs, and so she puts a vest on, a compression vest, and it vibrates and helps to percuss and get the phlegm and the junk out of her lungs. She does that 15 minutes twice a day, plus nebulizers. They have lots of medications that help break up the mucus. They have medications of nebulized antibiotics that are available to them, that she's on antibiotics pretty much every day of the year, fighting back the bacteria that is growing in her lungs. So the treatment is daily. When the bacteria gets so bad that they're having much more difficulty breathing and what they call an exacerbation, then they're put in the hospital to start an IV tune-up, an IV with a compound of antibiotics. That they try and do that about once a year to try to knock back some of the bacteria that's been growing in their lungs to help them.
I see. And that's in your daughter's case. Other cases they could be hospitalized more frequently, I suppose.
Much more frequently, yeah. That they could be hospitalized quarterly, depending on how their health is going.
Right. And so in our area, this walk it's happening on Saturday, everybody, by the way, May the 4th. And you'll start registration at 8:30?
That's correct. We register at 8:30, and then we'll make announcements at 9 o'clock and begin walking. And it's just a fun walk. It's not a timed and not a specific distance. Just come down to Berg Park. We know how beautiful it is down there, and just enjoy some time with family and friends. You can bring your coworkers, bring a dog, walk with the dog, and have a good time with them.
About 3 miles, I think, is the distance or so, more or less, right?
We say a 5K, and that's basically walking down to the bridge, the second bridge, and back. And we have refreshments, water and donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, and lots of just in time to enjoy with family and friends. And when you're ready to go, you can pick up and go enjoy the rest of your day, go to a soccer game with your family or whatever else you have planned in a crazy Saturday.
There you go. And folks can register and get pledges to help raise money for these treatments and research into cystic fibrosis. That's really what it's all about.
Exactly. We were doing it to make awareness of cystic fibrosis, but definitely for the fundraising as well. We have a Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's webpage is awesome, cff.org. But if you go to fightcf.cf, if I can think about that.
It's right here. Fightcf.cff.org.
Right, and you go there and you can click on the register to walk and put in your information, and you can enter credit card information securely through that website, and encourage other people to join your team if you want to walk as an individual or as a team with your coworkers or family or whatever.
Right.
And raise, there's no minimum, there's no maximum. Whatever anyone can raise is always greatly appreciated, because every dollar we raise, 90 cents of that goes directly to the research and patient care programs.
And if folks aren't able to join you on Saturday, you could find a team to donate to.
Yes, you can
from the website as well.
Right,
correct?
You can find any of the already registered walkers and donate to them. Or if you want to send a check or whatever, you can get a hold of me, and I'll be happy to get information as to how to submit a check.
Okay. Good to know. And this walk, we were talking before we came on the air this morning, I asked you again, this is the main fundraiser for the local chapter this year, correct?
That's right. We only do one event and one event a year, and hit it hard. It's just the walk. There are other events in New Mexico as well as Colorado that the people can participate in, but for our local area, this is the only cystic fibrosis event.
And when we say local area, this is including folks who are maybe listening or watching us in Durango and Cortez and really the Four Corners region. This is the walk for the region.
Definitely. We have families that come down from Cortez and from Durango, of course, Bloomfield, Farmington, Aztec, that they're all part of it and affected by cystic fibrosis.
Right. And you were telling me earlier that there have been a couple of losses, tragically, from cystic fibrosis locally.
Yes. There were two young people from Aztec that we know of, and say there are just
right. And so again, this is a serious disease that these people are living with.
Right. It is fatal. The average life expectancy, when our daughter was first born, the average life expectancy was about 20 years old. Now, through the research of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and the new medications, it has doubled. It is now almost 40 years old. That's a wonderful, to see that growth and change in such a short amount of time is wonderful, but 40 still isn't good enough.
Right.
Knowing that it is fatal and knowing progressive, that her disease can start to deteriorate her lungs. We want to keep fighting and help to find that cure, to make it available, so when someone's born with cystic fibrosis, they can fix it and correct it and not deal with those daily treatments and therapies that our children have to go through.
Right. And you were telling me that some of the research that has been done because of events like this and other money that's been funneled through the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation has helped maybe with some other diseases and other medical problems as well.
Correct. They have the researchers that they'll step back. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation has a database of all cystic fibrosis patients, and so from that database, it identifies, of course, their age and the region that they live in, the care center that they get treatment from, how their body responds to different treatments, and so the foundation is able to take that data from the database of the cystic fibrosis patients and find patients that want to participate in a clinical trial. Our daughter has participated in many clinical trials for cystic fibrosis, and then from that research, they're able to tune in to find a specific antibiotic like tobramycin. We've heard of tobramycin in pill and IV form for many, many years, and so the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation research has taken that injected form of the antibiotic and turned it into a nebulized form, so they can nebulize it and get it directly into the lungs, which gets to the bacteria. Now with that, they call it tobramycin that is nebulized, and so now Toby is available not only, of course, for cystic fibrosis patients, but it is available for the populace at large, that if someone has COPD or other lung infections, they're able to utilize that. So they can still benefit from that same research that the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation has helped fund.
Sure. Well, and that's great news for lots more folks than just folks suffering from cystic fibrosis and their families.
Right. And the research that the foundation does is so cutting edge that other health organizations are able to, they share information and to emulate that same process to go through the trial studies. A normal drug that goes through trial studies has to go through 3 different stages to make sure it's safe and healthy and effective. And the foundation, the researchers closely track that and have streamlined it, so when they present it to the FDA for approval, the FDA knows that they have gone through the proper channels and are ready to release those drugs to the general population.
Right. Very good. You are the co-chair of this year's walk. So you have another partner who is working with you as well, and a whole committee, I know, who's helping to put this all together, correct?
Exactly. Another co-chair of mine is Dave Turnbull here in Farmington, and his daughter also has cystic fibrosis. As I said, it's genetic, and it's something that you have from birth, but they don't always pick it up, the diagnosis. They don't always identify it from birth. It is because of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, it is in the newborn screening. So now any child born will be tested for cystic fibrosis. But back 27 years ago when my daughter was diagnosed, it was not in the newborn screening.
I see.
And so she was almost 2 actually when she was diagnosed, having digestive issues. And so we were dealing with the diagnosis of it. It's a very devastating diagnosis, as you can imagine, and so we had gotten to our normal routine of her treatments, and she was in the 2nd grade, and her best friend Katie Turnbull, that they spent time together. They were like twin sisters, they called each other, and did everything. They were in Girl Scouts together and participated in things. And Katie all of a sudden became very sick, and they took her to the doctor, and they said, "Have you heard of cystic fibrosis?" And she said, "Yes, but it's not contagious to my understanding." And they said, "Oh, no, it's not."
Right.
And Katie had it from birth, but it wasn't until 2nd grade that she had gotten that diagnosis. And so it was like a whole new diagnosis for us as well, going through that trauma of explaining what the disease is, and my husband and I were helping her parents go through the trauma of the diagnosis.
Sure.
With cystic fibrosis, we talked about the bacteria that grows in their lungs and how the infection, if they get the most critical infections, it can deteriorate the lungs. And so we try to keep her as healthy as possible and keep her away from those nasty bacteria. Since other cystic fibrosis patients carry that same bacteria that they're susceptible to, we're told by the doctors to keep them 6 feet apart to keep them away from each other, that they can't play. And so the doctors, while they were treating Katie in Albuquerque, called and said, "You realize that Amber and Katie can never play together again." And it was
oh dear, right?
Very devastating.
I can't imagine.
It was very traumatic. And so we talked about it, prayed a lot about it, and as we brought Katie back from Albuquerque from her doctor treatments and back into getting into a normal life, we determined as parents that our daughters were sisters. They literally were sisters, twins, not literally, but
sure.
in our eyes that they were sisters. And we chose as parents not to separate them, that Katie and Amber still played together and did all the things that they would as best friends, but as sisters as well. When one would be sick, then we would keep them from each other so they wouldn't be coughing and exposing each other. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, that neither of them had any of the nasty bacteria that they were growing, so we felt relatively comfortable keeping them, but still cautious and aware.
Right.
But at the cystic fibrosis walk, we've always identified the cystic fibrosis patients in some way. This year they'll be wearing different colored shirts, so that way they can identify each other. Even if they don't know each other, mm-hmm. then they don't get within that 6 feet radius of potential coughing
sure.
and exposure to the bacteria. So
it's up to them, I guess.
It is, exactly.
And like it was up to the parents to
right.
decide what to do with the children.
Exactly, right.
And so there are a number of cystic fibrosis patients in the Four Corners region. We were talking a little bit, at least that you're aware of, and there
yes.
probably are more
exactly.
That will benefit from the results of the walk this weekend and things along that line. But you get people that travel down for the walk from the outlying communities every year, don't you?
Right, I do. And lots of family members. There's grandparents in town and aunts and uncles that their nieces or nephews or grandchildren live elsewhere, but they still want to participate and be a part of it and to get a little bit of hope from it. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation sets up care centers, care centers. There's 130 of them in the United States, and ours is in Albuquerque, and there's also one, of course, in Denver. Mm-hmm. And so all CF patients go there for their CF care. They have primary doctors in their hometown, but for the specialized CF care, they have to go to that care center. And the care center in Albuquerque, they see 500 patients with cystic fibrosis. So if there's 500 within the New Mexico area, that there is definitely the population in Farmington as well. We're aware of a dozen, but then I'm sure there's others of people who just haven't stepped out to get involved with the fundraising part of it. But it's not always just that. It's just the awareness and to help each other, to support each other.
Right. My guest, Lisa Willems, is here. She is the co-chair of the Cystic Fibrosis Great Strides Walk, which is happening this Saturday.
That's correct.
At Berg Park in Farmington. It is May 4th, of course, and check in at about 8:30, and then the walk will start roughly around 9 o'clock or so.
Right.
And you'll be right at Berg Park, kind of right there at the main gazebo area by Scott Avenue, San Juan Boulevard. That end of the park.
Exactly.
Is what we're talking about, everybody. And you can go online and register to walk and join them on Saturday morning. The website is fightcf.cff.org. If you're not in town or not able to walk, you can find a team or an individual to help walk and donate on their behalf. And all the money goes to help with the cystic fibrosis research through the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which is a nationwide organization.
That's correct.
And how many do you expect this year at the walk?
It's a relatively small walk. We've had over 150 in the past, but mm-hmm. I think that as the numbers start to dwindle, families are busier with more activities. We hear soccer tournaments and final exams
right.
and proms and whatnot. We're anticipating about 50 walkers. It's always a fun group of people. We just have a great time.
There you go. That's true.
Enjoy walking.
And again, folks can support you if they can't walk. They can still write you a check or make a donation on the website.
That's correct.
So they don't necessarily have to be there in person, although they're more than welcome.
Right. And walking is an angel walker. We say if you still want to register as a walker and raise funds, you can raise funds through the social media, mm-hmm. Through Facebook and email, raise funds, and your spirit can walk in your place that day.
Well, there you go. Well, there's an option too. So
exactly.
It's open for everyone. So you mentioned Dave as your co-chair, and you have another a committee and then sponsors that are helping to make this possible too this year, correct?
We do wonderful business sponsors. We couldn't do this every year without the business community as well. every year, technical compression, has been a great sponsor year after year. This year also, we're including Waste Management, Basin Home Health, Ameriprise Financial. The list goes on and on with route marker sponsors. If a business wants to donate $100 for a route marker sponsorship, they can contact me and I can set them up with a simple route marker sponsorship. But the benefits, the company, we set out their signage. They can come walk as a team,
Right.
participate in the walk as well.
Not too late.
No, definitely not
to
too
be a
late.
sponsor.
No,
So
no.
okay. And to reach you, can they do that through the website, or do you want to give a phone number?
I'll
What's the
give
best way to do that?
My phone number is area code 505-486-5695. They can call me anytime. I can answer any questions about cystic fibrosis, about the foundation, about the walk. I've answered just about every question there is out
Yes,
there.
you have. I bet you have. After doing this for 24 years, as you mentioned, the first year you were kind of a volunteer, and then you kind of took it over. And
Right. And we started working together as families and helping together and growing it into the walk that it is.
Right, which is wonderful. And
Right.
again, and you've raised how much for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in these 24 years?
In the past 23, not including this year
This 23.
yet.
I keep counting up.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, you're right. In 23 years, we've raised over $480,000, which is nearly $500,000, which is
Right.
pretty incredible for this small community of Farmington, comparable to New York and Chicago and Dallas, that they also have walks and events. And so I'm pretty proud of our Farmington community and the Four Corners community helping out and participating and raising that near $500,000.
It's a very generous community. We both know that.
Definitely,
So
for sure.
I'm not surprised, but it's great. And the work keeps going. And again, a lot of the money has been used for this research to help these other cystic fibrosis patients to live longer lives and to also help other folks who suffer from lung ailments and things like that. As you mentioned, some of the research has been used in other areas too.
Right, and I can track every medication that my daughter is taking is because of the research provided by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So it benefits her directly, and each and every patient. They have their own specified care plan, but it all evolves around those medications that have gone through the trials, gone through the approval, through the funding of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
And it seems like with the technology and medical science and things like that, and the way that we're able to look at genetics and genomes and all these different things, that it seems like we're so close to finding some of these cures for some of these really ailments that have just been so with us for so long and so devastating to so many families. And it's almost like we're there, but we're not quite there, you know?
Yes.
Is that a good way to describe it?
It is. It's a very exciting time that they're finding medications to find that cure, to find how the medication responds to the cell and to correct that cell, to modify it and then eventually correct it. So we're very excited about it.
Right. But that's where some of this research is moving and
Correct.
and taking us.
Right now, the modifiers are very prevalent with cystic fibrosis. They've just been released through the FDA. Our daughter is currently taking a modulator, which modifies the cell, helping to pass that sodium chloride through the cell. And it just was released in January, and she started taking it in March. And of course, the price on those pills is not cheap.
Right.
$50,000 for a quarter for 3 months worth of medication of this one modulator, which is $16,000 a month. She has health insurance, needless to say, and is able to cover those. But that each of the medications that they come up with is going to keep compounding and adding to the correction of the cell.
I see. And that's kind of what they're looking at. That seems to be the cutting edge of that research at the moment.
Right. We want a cure.
At a cellular level.
Exactly.
And get it back to where it needs to be, those cells.
And they'll be able to identify at birth or even from in utero that they can identify if the cell has cystic fibrosis and hopefully be able to correct it so that when the cell starts multiplying, it's creating a healthy child to begin with, as opposed to going through the correction later.
Right. Very exciting. And
is.
again, this money is what it's used for.
Exactly.
Is this type of research, everyone. It is the Great Strides Cystic Fibrosis Walk coming up on Saturday here in Farmington at Berg Park. Again, you can register online at fightcf.cff.org. You can register to walk. You can volunteer. You can also be an angel walker.
An angel walker, exactly.
And not have to walk. If you're not in town, but you can still raise money. You can donate to another team. You'll see it all on the website. I was noticing earlier, I think you're in the lead, Lisa, with your team. I don't know. But you probably have a lot of followers, a lot of people that support you.
I have a lot of supporters and a lot of family and friends from far that they send their contributions in as well.
Well, they know it's for a good cause, and you're a great advocate for the cause as well. So thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Well, thank you, Scott.
You're very welcome.
This program is supported by San Juan Health Partners Urology, providing a wide range of personalized services for the whole family, including children. Our caring professionals are dedicated to helping meet your urology health needs with skill, experience, and service you need. For a complete listing of our services and to learn more, visit sanjuanhealthpartners.com or call 505-609-6300. San Juan Health Partners Urology, a division of San Juan Regional Medical Center. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.